So I had two conversations, actually three, the other day that were just eerily similar. And I wanted to share the findings of those conversations with existing business owners. And I want to tie this into some sports references too, because I think a lot of people that will be listening to this will understand this concept better. All of these business owners had a winning formula, meaning that they were doing something that led to success, that led to money. One gentleman I spoke with had a cleaning business, and another gentleman I spoke with had a pressure washing business. And again, both had a system in place that put money into their bank account. And rather, and they were stuck, right? Like, hey, I'm not really. They were looking at something different. Like, hey, I'm thinking about doing something on the side to supplement my income. And I hear this so often, and I did this for years, so I completely get it. And I think a lot of that is like the fear of scaling. Like, we don't think that we can get beyond the level of income that we're currently at, whether that's $1,000 a month or 15 or $50,000 a month. Like, we're always putting these limitations on ourselves. And I believe that these individuals were doing the same thing and just weren't able to think in larger quantities. And I told both of them, and I tell everybody this that has a business is simply a math problem. And in order to solve the math problem, you have to have the math, which means that you have to be tracking everything. Now, these two individuals, two of the individuals that I spoke to were using a door knocking method or a door hangers on doors, which is very effective. And most people are not willing to do that. And if you can do that in your business, if you have a home base like a service business, then it's something that is going to set you apart. Because again, most people are not willing to do that. And they were getting money from doing this effort. Like, I'll knock on doors, I'll talk to people, or they'll call me back and I'll get leads. And I told both of them, I said, you just need to do more of that. You need to do a lot more of it. So if you're hanging 200 door hangers a week, or if you're knocking on 50 doors per day, you need to do 300 doors per day, or you need to hang 3,000 door hangers, right? Especially if the math leads you to X number of dollars per month, and you got to measure all that stuff. And one of them was, and one of them was not. So that's step one, is like, you got to measure it so that you know that, okay, if I do this, if I do these, if I knock on 50 doors, I'm going to talk to X number of people and I'm going to close this many deals. Like, the math never lies. The numbers never lie. And once you have that framework, then you can simply repeat it by doing more of the thing, right? So, and if when you're tracking, you'll see the gaps. It's like, okay, I'm not closing enough. Well, you got to change your scripts. You got to look at that. Or I'm not getting enough people to answer the door. There's things that you can do there as well. You can come back, or you can leave a business card or leave something there. Like, one of the guys was not leaving anything at the door, but you can always come back. You want to look at that. Like, where are my gaps? What am I missing so that this math problem is always working in my favor? And I basically said to both of them, to all three of them, I just said, you're not doing enough. You already have a blueprint that is working for you. You don't need to go out and do something else. That would be silly. You have this business, and this is where people get stuck, is they just think that they need to add something else to their plate to make it better, to fix the problem. And it's like, no, you just need to attack this problem that you're having right now and not double down on it. Because when people use that double down, it's like, you need to like triple or 10x down on it. And you can get to that point. Like, look, you can't necessarily knock on 300 doors per day, but if you got other people helping you, you can do it. One of the guys was looking at hiring high school kids to help him with the door hangers. I'm like, great idea. That's leverage. Like, that's you getting the volume done so that you can get more clients, right? So, math problem, lesson number one. The other reference that I want to make here, so that everyone listening understands this, because you may not be at the point where you have a business or a winning formula or something that is proven to make money. And if you do, if you have a proven formula, if you've done something that has made you money, I want you to pick that apart and figure out, how can I just simply do more of that and I'll get the result that I want? And the roadblock there for you is, for most people, is that you're always going to put a ceiling on what you're capable of in terms of income and in terms of what you can actually do. And you might struggle with, well, I just don't want to do that. That's a lot of effort. And if that's the case, then you need to have a look yourself in the mirror moment. But if you already have something that's making you money, well, just do that. Why are you looking at something else? Seriously, ask yourself that question. If you've made money with anything in the past, it's been successful. Why aren't you just doing more of that? I want to talk about athletes here. Okay. Elite athletes, most people would know these individuals, but Steph Curry, basketball, right? His shooting practice, he's largely considered like the greatest 3-point shooter of all time and one of the best players that's ever played the game, right? Guy's pretty darn good if you've watched him play. Well, his shooting practice consists of, he doesn't just shoot a few threes and move on, right? He takes hundreds of shots per day, hundreds of shots, and he's constantly refining the mechanics of what already works, right? He can shoot threes. He's doing the same thing over and over again and making these small tweaks, these small changes, but the volume, right, is there, like doing the shots. Like if he didn't do anything else, if he didn't make like these little tweaks and just kept shooting 300 shots per day or however many he does, he'd be pretty darn good. But greatness is he's constantly tweaking, but you have to make sure that the fundamentals are done. And that's what I mean by the fundamentals with these businesses. It's like knock on the doors, do the hangers, right? Refine your sales scripts. Like keep doing that over and over again, and you will continue to have success as long as you don't stop doing that and you do it in a higher volume, right? So if you're doing 10, you need to do 100. If you're doing 100, you need to do 1,000, right? Or you need to do way more than what you're doing. That's how you're going to scale up. Derek Jeter, most of you know who he is, like fielding ground balls. He didn't necessarily practice crazy plays. He might have done that for fun. He just mastered the routine, the basic routine, so that he never made errors in the basics. And he didn't have a lot of errors, right? You got to do the fundamentals well. So business is exactly the same. And really life is exactly the same. You got to, number one, you got to take more shots. You got to field more ground balls. You got to run the plays that you know already work, just with more volume and more precision. Again, run the plays you already know work. Just do a lot more of them. And this is a concept that just for whatever reason, people just don't get. And they think that they just got to do something else. And then it's like you're hopping, you're jumping from thing to thing to thing. And you wonder why you're stuck. And that's the reason. Like you already have the blueprint in front of you. The one gentleman I spoke to had 38 clients in a short amount of time in 4 months, repeat monthly recurring clients. And he's looking at doing something else. And I said to him respectfully, I'm like, you have the blueprint right in front of you to get 38 clients. Just repeat it. And if you want it done faster, do more of the stuff that got you the 38 clients. I can't think of any other way to explain it. It doesn't get any simpler than that. And he can scale that up until it gets to a big number per month, like 6 figures per month, because the difference between where he is right now and where he wants to go is just simply doing more of the same. Right. And you can scale it up to that number without really having to add a ton to your business. You're going to need some more people to help you, right? You're going to need leverage. You might have to add a few systems, but you don't have to like flip the business upside down on its head. You just have to do more of what already got you there. Like that's the thing. And when I think about success in business, like a lot of people that I've worked with that I look at, they just think that it's always about, oh, I got to do something greater. And, I have to have this new tool or whatever. And it's like, no, you just need to execute. You need to execute more and better on the stuff that you've already done, the stuff that got you there already. Like that's simple, very simple. Again, going back to the free throws and the ground balls, right? Fielding the ground balls. People give up too soon, like on what's working. And I've done this too, where I've had success selling something or doing something, and I've maybe pivoted away too soon, right? For a bunch of reasons. It's probably a whole nother podcast episode on why people do this stuff, but it does happen. And you can't give up. You can't quit when it's working. You just got to do more of it, right? Instead of pivoting to something different, with which again, all 3 of these individuals were looking at something else, pivoting to something new, when it's just simply like master what's already working and do it at an insane level. And if you were to do that, because I asked this one gentleman who was doing door hangers, who was doing about 250 to 300 per week. And I just asked him bluntly, I'm like, what if you hung 3,000? And he took a second and he looked back and he thought about it. He says, well, I probably have 15 more customers. And I just looked at him and I'm like, well, why don't you just go do that? Because it truly is that simple. Because he knows his numbers, like good on him. There's a reason he's built a business that works. But very, very simple. It's like you don't need to go find another way to supplement your income. You need to go hang 3,000 more door hangers or 5,000 or whatever it is and go get the 15 clients and do it like yesterday. So I want you to start thinking like when you're approaching your life, like when you're approaching getting better and you want to improve, and you're getting into your business and you're starting out, or maybe you have an existing business and you're in this kind of predicament where I can't scale, or I don't know how to make more money. And just think like the elite athletes do, right? Like run the proven plays with more volume, more consistency, and precision. And I think that if you can simply do that, and it's not easy, like it's so hard to focus, right? It's so hard to do that over and over, but that's why those guys are those guys. That's why Steph is Steph, and that's why Derek Jeter was Derek Jeter, and that's why Michael Jordan is Michael Jordan, is because, and Kobe Bryant was Kobe Bryant, right? And I can name a bunch. It's because they did that stuff better than anyone else, and they did more of it than anyone else. Did they have freakish talent? Of course they did. But so many people in sports, so many athletes in sports have freakish talent, but they don't do that. They don't do the basics. Instead of taking 300 shots, they're only maybe doing 50, right? Or like Jeter, they're not doing hundreds and hundreds of ground balls, right? They're only doing a handful and just relying on their talent. I wish it was more complicated, but that's it. All right, go out and do more. Do more of it, do a lot more of it, do an insane amount of it, and do it better, and go get your math problem, put it together, and go solve the hell out of it.